welcome. Happy Friday. We are live with qualifying. This is the Shakedown Racing League. This is the Legend Series. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome on board. This is round 16. We're in the penultimate round. Not penultimate, sorry. It is the final round of this series on Friday nights. It's been running for the last 16 weeks. Guys are just making their way out onto track now for qualifying here. We're at Barcelona tonight in this Enduro race. Race length will be for 2 hours, so definitely an endurance. And we'll be running with 3 mandatory pit stops tonight, as well as 1 mandatory change of tyres. The drivers are restricted to 6 sets of tyres for the whole evening. They will have used 1 set through practice, probably use a new fresh set here in qualifying. Most drivers, you'd think, will be left with 4 sets for the race. Obviously with 3 pit stops, that is your starting set, plus 3 changes. Following on here with Tilly. You'll see, obviously just on a warm-up lap at the moment. You're getting those tyres up to temperature. Won't be quite ready just yet. Conditions are, as you can see, pretty cloudy. It's just starting a timed lap now. We see how he goes. He's encountered some traffic coming out of pit lane, but he's gotten around that okay. Into turn 1 and turn 2. Fast right and then left-hander, both very quick. Minimum speed's about 160 kilometers an hour through those first 2 corners. Obviously turn 3 a little bit slower, the long looping right-hander that he's just come through. Into turn 4 before he will snake his way around to turn 5, which is almost a complete hairpin. It's not a particularly tight one, but it is not quite the tightest turn on this track. I reckon turn 10 takes the cake for that one. Come around now. Turn 7 and the little kink back right is turn 8, sorry. Counting down 765 instead of counting up as we should. We saw some pretty competitive times through that practice session earlier. Guys just getting out on track, making sure they made those final adjustments to the car tune, etc. We had some in the 149s, which is very quick around here. Expect pole here. Yeah, it might be in that 1 minute 49 second range somewhere. A few of the drivers out in the 1 minute 50s. Should be a fairly tight bunch. We've got 5 drivers on tracks tonight. Obviously, the Legend Series. It's been a long one. It's been a long battle. Smooth, not so fast Halley. Sorry, not fast Halley has already wrapped up the Drivers' Championship in this series. He could miss tonight and he would still win. He is, of course, out on track, though. And it is the Shakedown racing team that have won the team's championship. As Tilly goes off there, would have taken some damage there as well. Resets to pit, understandably. Might jump on with someone else. He gets his car ready to go again. Gilso coming off at the start-finish line. His first lap, 2:07, is probably a warm-up lap, you think. See what he can do for his first timed lap here. Comes into turn 1. Important to get on the brakes just at the right time. Backing down to 100 kilometers an hour through turn 1. Turn 2, accelerating the whole way through there, getting back down onto that throttle, pushing it down as far as he can. Short shift up to 4th. Coming around turn 3. Those of you just joining us, we are at Barcelona tonight, and this is the Legend Series. It's round 16, it's the finale of this series. But we're doing a 2-hour drive around the track at Barcelona. on board here with Gilso in the BMW. Completing in one of the qualifying laps. Only 15 minutes of qualifying tonight, and you have to get in a lap fairly quickly. Can't be sitting around for forever. And the conditions will improve over the course of the 15 minutes, but it's not quite the same as a full half an hour session with more cars on track. Probably won't be a whole heap of runner, but only 5 drivers running. So, coming around through turn 12 now. Big long right-hander. He will stick to the inside curb for most of that corner. Comes out wide left, so he can cut it off into 13. Got to come straight back across to the right to make it for 14 and 15, which is the chicane. Out of 15 into the long right-hander, which is the penultimate corner, turn 16, before the start-finish straight. Come across, what do we have? 2 minutes and 6. Probably not where he would like to be, you'd think. We saw sometimes in the 1 minute 50s earlier. Don't know whether he's just taking his time and not really pushing for it. He's pulling over to the side of the track, probably reset to pits there. Get a bit of a change on. Jump over to Pickle in the Lamborghini. He is also on a quick lap by the look of things. He's just going through turn 3 at the moment. Lots of right-handers on this track. Turn 4 is another one of those. If you're in the stream with me tonight, you want to say hi? Let me know who you think's going to get up. Give me something to talk to. We'll be here for a while. 2 hours is a long race. I'd love to see some of you guys getting involved. Jump on board with me. Chat it up. Get your opinions on the running tonight as well. Eagle coming through the last sector of this track now. Coming up to finish his lap. Heading up towards the chicane. Not that one. Here it comes. Got to get right over right. So you cut back on that chicane. There he goes. Through that section. Quite a slow corner, obviously, but so important to get it right so you don't compromise your exit out down to the main straight. We've got a yellow flag somewhere on track. Removed quickly, though. No more danger. 151.7. Not the fastest we've seen so far tonight. They were, as I said, there were some times in the 149s through practice. We'll wait to see whether that might eventuate here as well. Not sure what might be happening. The drivers maybe sandbagging a little bit potentially to have some action from the back of the field. Welcome on board again. If you are just joining us for the first time, this is the Legends Racing Series with Shakedown. We are in round 16, round 3 of our Enduro Cups. Oh, round 4, I should say, sorry, of our Enduro Tour. If you're not aware, it is Smooth Tommy in the lead for the Enduro Tour. Of course, this Legends Series split up between 4 different tours. We had the Legends British Tour for the first 4 rounds, followed by the Legends Americas Tour. The next 4, and the Italian Tour. The next 4 before the Enduro Tour for this final tour. Final sort of quarter here. All of these races have been Enduros. And it is Tommy that is leading the pack in this particular tour. It is Halley, though. It's tied up the entire Legends series. He is out in front. Couple of cars on track are just messing around a little bit. Obviously is a party night tonight. 16 weeks of hard racing. The boys are just letting it all out a little bit here. Got a couple guys just trying to drift it around the track. Not normally what you see racing here, but gee, does it look good. Just been informed as well by race control that the BMW on track, Big Gilso, will be receiving a 2-lap head start. Obviously significantly hindered by the car that he is racing in, as in comparison to the other 2 cars. He will receive that bonus there. Whoa, look at that from Halley. Looked good throughout the corner. Just lost at the last second. Drifting is not normally what you'd recommend around here in these cars, but I'm sure it is fun to drive. Coming towards the end of qualifying now. A little over 2 minutes to go. Jump on board with Tilly, who is coming down the start-finish straight here to set a lap. Got a 151.952 as his best so far, which is far from atrocious, of course. It's quite a good time, quite quick. Let's see what he can do. Coming into turn 3 now. Big, long right-hander. Quite a quick corner. Accelerate pretty well the whole way through that turn. Up into 6th gear early. Short shift up there. We'll have to shift back down to 3rd to go through turn 4 though. Again, accelerate through the latter half of the corner up to 4th quickly, and 5th before turn 5. It's quite a sharp left-hander. Just slow the car right down. You see him bottoming out there about 74 kilometers an hour before he can get back on the gas through turn 6. 7 and 8 here, left-hander, and then a kink to the right. So we've got a small little straight, not a particularly long one, but a small little one before turn 9 there. Out of turn 9, we are onto the back straight. Second longest straight on this track. Only about half the distance of the main straight, of course, which is the start-finish. Turn 10. Into turn 13. 11, sorry. 10 does not go into 13. Into 11, 12 is another long right-hander before we go down for 13. And out of turn 13, we hit the chicane, which is 14 and 15. Difficult one to get right, but if you can get a good line out of there, you can certainly be quick through turn 16 and right out into the exit there, down the main straight. As I said, about twice as long as the back straight here. This last was our 152.4. He'll be running for one more, you'd think. Looks like Pickle maybe has just gone up into first place. He is still out on track. He's got a 151.720 as his current pole position lap. Of course, a few of the guys not really concentrating on setting a lap here. It is the last race of the season, and we are here to have some fun. So we will see exactly how that works. Here we go. Pickle coming up to turn 9 now. Right-hander. see what he can do with this last lap. Can he make sure that he holds on to pole position here? Jay Tilley just behind. And Tilley is in fact still out on track. So maybe a photo finish here. We will have to see. Tilley will be pushing on a quick lap as well. What does Pickle set? Is he able to improve his time? He's almost up to equal with his best. Depend on the exit from the chicane there. Looks like that was a bit slower than he would have liked. Grabbed a bit too much of the curb on the exit there. Oh, and very wide through the penultimate corner. He will abandon that lap for sure. Let's jump on board with Jay Tilley. No, not able to. He must have invalidated also somewhere through there. So it is Pickle taking pole position with a 1:51.720. Tilley 2/10 behind that, and Gilso 14 seconds down. Obviously the BMW in a slightly different league to the Ferrari and the Lamborghini that we have out there, driven by our top two drivers, Smooth Tommy and Not Fast Hallie, both opting to start from the back of the grid, not setting a time through the 15 minutes of qualifying. We will go to the race. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome on board. This is the Shakedown Racing League, Australia, New Zealand based simulated racing league, competing majorly on Assetto Corsa Competizione, which is the game we are in at the moment. This particular series is on Xbox, though we do run some races on PC as well. If you're keen to get involved or hear some more about the league, you can do so by jumping onto Facebook, throw in Shakedown Racing League, and the page will come up. You can find us all there. If you're keen to be involved, shoot us a message. We'd love to have you on board. This is the Legends series. Shakedown Legends series. We've been running for 16 weeks, and this is the final race. So a little bit of a party today. They're going to have some fun out there, you'd have to say. Not taking it too seriously, but at the same time, they will be pushing hard. I'm sure they will want to win. Of course, is an Enduro race. Let's jump across now before we get to the session start. Might jump across to the timetables. We can. No, it's not going to. There we go. Let me fly up. Let's go into qualifying. It was Pickle setting the fastest first and second sectors until he got the final sector back on him just by about 3.5 tenths. In the end, it was only 2 tenths the difference in the lap overall. It's very close to those first two sectors, as you can see, between Pickle and Tilley. A 31.0 to a 31.1, and then a 42.8 to a 42.9. It's pretty close the whole way through. And of course, even that final sector with the 37.5 to the 37.8. It's been pretty close the whole way. Tommy only sitting 1 valid lap there, and Hallie set 5 valid laps. Hallie, potentially the better drifter out of the two of them, at least better in terms of keeping it within the lines anyway. We'll have Pickle on pole, followed by Tilley in P2. Gilso will start P3, Tommy in P4, and Hallie in P5. And I'm told that Big Gilso in P3 with the BMW will be receiving a 2-lap head start to this race. BMW significantly outclassed, unfortunately, by the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis. We will certainly see how he goes, and I'm sure we'll have some fun. I see a few people here in the stream. If you'd love to say hi, I would love to get to see who's here with me watching this race tonight. Should be some good fun. We'll see how we go throughout. Let me know if you're here. Let me know if you can hear me. And obviously always open to some feedback if the game's too loud, if I'm too loud, whatever it may be, you let me know. We can make some adjustments as we go if we need to. Not too long now till we will start and get underway. Of course, there will be a full formation lap prior to the race getting underway. We'll jump in, drive. All the cars here blocked by the sign. We love to see that. We'll stay on board with Pickle. For those of you that are interested, I will be providing you with updates from the cricket as well. Over in England, Ashes, test number 2 at Lords. I'll keep you updated as we go with regards to the play there. All right, away we go. Of course, formation lap. Go out, try and get as much heat into those tyres. Conditions are fairly cold overhead, it's just 24 degrees and cloudy here in Spain. We'll have to see how the guys go exactly. Don't know whether we will be expecting too much rain. I think it will stay fairly overcast, but I think it should be holding off. Of course, if we do get some of that, it will be exciting. And we've got Boss Rottens jumping into the chat. Appreciate you being here. And oh, Bushrat. Oh, of course. I was thinking that the NZ there might have been something. It's good to have you on board, Bushrat. Those of you that may know him, he's one of our new racers here at Shakedown, competing in a few of our Tuesday night leagues. We will see how we go here. Obviously, plenty of the track still to go. It's quite a long out lap here for the formation lap. Could be going for a little while still. They're obviously capped at a particular speed limit. So we will see how we go. Now, as Pickle resets to the pits. And I wonder whether we might be seeing some other cars follow him, as the BMW does have a 2-lap head start. They may be not sure whether the others were going to plan to restart from the pits or whether they will just pull out to the side of the track and stop. I guess we will see how they plan on initiating that 2 laps. As Bushrat says, the BMW does look a bit out of place. Of course, the car choices for this particular race here, throughout the 3 series we've had previous, the British Tour, everyone was driving the BMW. In the America Tour, where they were all in the Lamborghini. And in the Italian Tour, they were all driving the Ferrari. So for this Enduro Tour, the last one of the 4, we have a mixture of all of those cars on the grid. So come round the penultimate corner here before we will get underway for a race start. Only a few cars on track. You would think that this should be reasonably okay. We get green lights. And a few cars slowing down. Let's jump on board with Gilso, who will be the only one participating in these first 2 laps. We might take this as an opportunity to jump on board, see what he sees. Jumping in the cockpit here with the BMW. It's a pretty torquey car. Tends to do fairly well through the mid corner. Obviously, struggles with the top speed in comparison to the other cars that we have out on track, but it is a comfortable car to drive. Coming down here through turn 5. It's quite a sharp left-hander, not the sharpest of the track, but quite tricky to get right. And obviously you want to be accelerating all the way 6, 7 and 8 where you can. Down to second gear just to avoid some wheel spin. Up to third again. And fourth. Short shift before we get to turn 9. He's got to shift back down. And he'll try and shift up again to fourth here down the main straight. Or the back straight, I should say. Bit of a tricky car to handle. Takes some getting used to, that is for sure. But it is a fun car to drive when you can get it right. Coming now into turn 15, or 13, sorry, I should say. Between 14 and 15, which is the chicane there. Looks to have got a fairly good exit out of that. Come around turn 16, which is the penultimate long right-hander. Pretty well full throttle through a lot of that. You might have just feathered just a touch. Coming up on, you can ignore those double yellows. That is just the remainder of the cars sitting at pit exit, letting him through. And we will have one more lap clean running for the BMW before the others will join us. Saying there is potentially a little bit of understeer. I think from memory the BMW tends to be a little bit understeery on the turn into corner, the start of each corner, but as you get through it's actually quite responsive through the corner. I think on exit it tends to be okay. It does look like there is a little bit there though. Obviously everyone runs the tunes just a little bit differently. It may not have wiped out quite as much of that. Of course, the more you try to tune out understeer or oversteer on the car, you can start to compromise your straight line speed a little bit. So, in some instances, especially on a track like this with such a long main straight, that straight line speed might be quite important. He may have decided that he's happy to live with a little bit of difficulty through the cornering, if it means that he gets that bonus down the straights. Pretty big clunky car though. I say that it's faster than your average road car for sure, but you know it feels like a truck in comparison to the Lamborghini and the Ferrari. That is for sure. It's different challenge, and it's certainly good that we do have the variety of cars on track tonight. Things here, you would have to say, are about to get interesting. Jump back on board with the broadcast camera. Yes, as Bushrat says, setting up cars can be a bit of a nightmare. Here we go. These other cars now should be joining us. You see them take off from pit lane. I meant to switch cars, not views. It looks like Tommy and Hallie giving Tilly and Pickles a little bit of a head start as well. Try and test themselves.
Pit window is opening.
And just like that, Tommy, or I should say Hallie, hasn't even driven a lap yet, and the pit window is open. There's 3 mandatory stops for this race, and 1 mandatory change of tyres. Although you imagine with the refueling you can normally get away with changing your tyres. Whoa! As we see Pickle outbrake himself a little bit and forced to go wide. Rejoin, and it looks like Gilso's had a bit of an accident as well. Spun it around at the... where were we? Gilso. It was the corner of around the turn 8, between that 7 to 8, fast right to left to right hander, I should say. Managed to maybe lose the rear, came out a little bit, and it looks like there may be some damage there. He may have found some contact with the barrier. Just come up quite quick out of turn 8, actually. If you can just hit that, that would have been difficult. Jump on board here with Pickle, who is hunting down Tilly. Couple seconds behind, but nonetheless, this will be interesting. I think the way they've set up here will make for a really good race, actually. Looks like Hallie is giving them all an extra lap. He'll start 3 laps down on the leader. Come back to try and take this one. You're interested at all in the cricket? Australia have taken a wicket 4 minutes into the day's play, and Ben Stokes is already out. On board here with Pickle. Still about that 2.5 second mark behind Tilly, but hunting him down. He will be looking to try and get this done if he can. Though it should be noted that this is an Enduro. So it definitely won't be trying to give it everything at the start. We want to make sure he gets the car round. I can't tell Bushrat whether you're booing England there or you're cheering for them. You might need to clarify that, or we might not be friends for very long. Thank you for joining along with me, though. It should be a good night of racing. A few more cars on track may have been nice, but we will see how we go. We've got some 152s early. It's probably a little bit quicker than what I thought race pace would end up being. I imagine them just settled back into a groove of maybe some 154s a little bit later on, just to help conserve that fuel. Of course, it is quite a long race. See how we go here. Might switch views for a second, jump on in the chase. Of course, not a view you get in any real life racing, but that is what makes this great. Just see just how close he is up on Tilly. Still about that 2.5 second gap, and he's bringing out about a 6.5, fluctuating between the 6 to 7 second gap on Tommy just behind, which you want to try and maintain as much as possible. Oh, a little bit of oversteer there, loses it. Did well to keep it out of the wall though. Just as I say that, he would have liked to have held that 7-second advantage. Oh, he's struggling a little bit now. I wonder whether maybe the tyres haven't quite warmed up. You'd think they'd be fairly good by now, but he's just struggling for a little bit of grip, it would seem here, Pickle. Maybe just a little bit nervous behind the wheel. Being calm is always good, as much as possible. Try and maintain that consistency, settled into the groove. Slide to Tommy, who is now just within about... He's moved up to within 4 seconds of Pickle. 151.5 as he crosses the line. Pickle slower lap there, 156. Of course, due to that little incident where he lost it. I think it was through turn 9 that he struggled to hold it together. And Bushrod, I can't remember what the question I asked was. I assume you're saying you are cheering for England then, which that might be a problem. I know you're from New Zealand, but surely you stick with your friends across the ditch. And we did see there, Tommy did get the move done on Pickle, struggling through that last lap, and it seems he has lost control of it through this one. So we jump on board. Bit of a different camera angle this one, but I think it is quite a nice angle. Bit of a fancy one. See some of the driver there to the left. You also get a very good idea of what it looks like on the road ahead. Gilso still out in front, holds that 73-second lead, which is mostly due to him getting that 2-lap head start on the rest of the pack. It looks like Halley, despite starting an entire lap, no, it must be 7 seconds behind on track, I think. I don't think he's made up the positions just yet. The main straight. Love the little details in this game. You see the windshield wiper vibrating under the high speed. As it takes it through turns 1 and 2. Big long right-hander is turn 3. Can accelerate through pretty much the entire last half of it though. Tommy won't be holding back here, you wouldn't think. Turn 5. Nice little exit there. Just a little bit of time on his best lap, but it's pretty comparable. A little bit of late braking there into turn 7, turn 8. Comes up to turn 9, top of the hill, before we fly back down towards turn 10. Back straight also has a decline. In real life it's about 15 metres, the difference between the top of turn 9 and the bottom of turn 10. And have we lost Tommy? That is not the first time. We may have a disconnect unless he has stopped on track for some reason. Jump back on board with Tilly here. Not sure what's happened with Tommy. They're losing time though, as Tilly does a 1:53. And Halley, another 1:51 4:15, and Pickle a 1:54 7:05. And there is confirmation we did lose Tommy. Disconnection. No, that's not his first disconnect. He does. This game does funny things as well, though. The servers here are not particularly stable. May not be completely his fault, but it's unfortunate. We will see whether he'll be able to rejoin safely. Is an option. See how he goes. Back on board with Gilso. Had a reasonably big accident that first lap in terms of when everyone else joined him. Here's lap 3. Put it into the barrier at the top of, I think it was out of turn 8. Let's see how he goes here. He's just motoring along. Is in number 1. He is still our race leader. And we have Tommy back. managed to successfully rejoin by the look of things. He has partially rejoined yet at the moment anyway. We will see what happens when he starts running. He can continue. Also in the number 35. It's coming around for turn 4 now. If you are joining us for the first time on the stream over on Twitch, welcome to Barcelona. This is our Legends Enduro series. Long race tonight, 2 hours in duration. The guys will be feeling it in their arms and legs. About the halfway point onwards, you would have to think. Between an hour to 90 minutes, lactic acid starts to cut in. Is the metallic purple and green liveries a requirement for the Legends racing? Asked Bushrat. I am not sure. Don't think so. I think it just tends to be a preference. We do have teams out on track, so there is a part of that as well. Impact Motorsport, including Tilly, Pickle and Gilso, I believe. And Shakedown racing with Tommy and Hallie. Maybe some sort of indication there between the teams, but nothing required, I don't believe. Just be team colours more than anything. Of course, each team being required to run one of the 3 cars available. Only allowed 1 Ferrari, 1 Lamborghini and 1 BMW. We're missing Harrison from Team Shakedown tonight, who would have been running in the BMW were he here. It's Tommy versus Tilly in the Ferrari, and it's Pickle versus Hallie in the Lamborghini. He also seems to have settled into a nice little rhythm here. Obviously just needs to make sure he stays out of trouble as much as possible. Pull it through to make sure he gets towards the end without too many incidents. There's Tommy here behind him. I reckon Tommy should get the move done, you would think. Let's see if we can jump on board with him. He is in the faster car. And there we go, up the inside of turn 4. Gets it done very nicely. Obviously the Ferrari is far more downforce than the BMW. Find some of those slow corners easier to do just a little bit quicker. Car will be more responsive on turn in, of course. And when he gets his foot down on that throttle, it'll probably get that just that little bit more torque and kick to get some grip and push on out of those corners. Tommy, of course, had the disconnect all the way back in P5 due to that reason. See where he can get up to. Maybe some sort of race if he can work his way back up towards the front from here. Be at least 1 lap down on 4th place. Not sure whether Hallie is plus 100 seconds on track. Might just be the single lap. It's a bit hard to tell. Might be plus 2 laps maybe at the most. So Hallie himself is storming through the field. Jump on board with him. Bit of a 3-way battle down here. The Ferrari and the Lamborghini both making moves on the BMW. Much faster down the straight. Would have been simple enough. Hallie right on the tail of Tilly in the Ferrari. See if he can get that switch back through into turn 4. Out of turn 3, I should say. Into turn 4 will be interesting. He'll try for the switch back here, though. Oh, no, you just do the move around the outside. No. Switches back, maybe. No, he's going to try and stick it around the outside. He will get inside line up to this next corner. And we'll do it under braking there. Whoa, a bit of wobble on exit, though. That keeps Tilly right back in the race. He's not far behind. Just wait, although Tilly does go a bit wide out of the apex there of turn 7. And has lost a significant amount of time there, actually. Almost 2 seconds down on Hallie now. Here's Tilly. Just sliding a little bit wide. You can see how much it just does compromise your exit and therefore your straight line speed. Even just down a short straight, the difference between getting back up to 190 kilometers an hour and only hitting 175, 180 will be a large one. Hallie, of course, does have the fastest lap of the race so far, on 148.187. Not only does he have the fastest lap of the race, he also has the Legend Series Drivers' Championship tied up and in his back pocket. Regardless of the outcome here today, Hallie will be your series winner. I think it's 1,061 points throughout the 16 weeks. Some effort holding that place in first over second position, I believe, is about 910 points. Close to 150 points clear of that. Hence why no result here today can change that outcome. Lamborghini looks pretty good in that black and purple. Some metallic silvery grey there as well. It's a good livery here. Of course, Assetto Corsa Competizione. Custom liveries on all these cars today. Something more racing games should introduce, for sure. Seems to have settled down into a little bit more of a groove now though, Hallie. Not pushing quite as hard as he did early to try and make up that time. He'll just be trying to just pull it up here. He's not too far off Tommy. It'll be interesting to see whether he can get him. Until he, by now, has fallen well down. Almost 6 seconds as it stands. Let's get a bit of a prediction out of you in the stream. Who do you think you could see coming down to win the race here? Of course, Gilso in first place at the moment. Had the 2-lap head start on the rest of our races. Tilly a very slow lap there. I have to think there must have been an accident there somewhere. Actually is greyed out on the minimap. He may have a disconnect issue as well, potentially. Way too early to make a call, says Bushra. Come on, I want that bold prediction. Can Gilso hold on with that 2-lap lead? Do we see one of those back runners flying through to take first? Almost a quarter race distance. It can't be too early yet, surely. I reckon Hallie's got it in him, personally. I think he's been dominant through most of this series. Very, very, very good racing driver. Very controlled. Strategy will play a part, though. 3 mandatory pit stops. At least one of those you must change your set of tyres. Interesting to see where these drivers do choose to make those stops. Of course, a 2-hour long race. Definitely an Enduro. Plenty of time. See how we go. Here is Hallie. He's pulling up on Tommy now. The gap is just a couple of seconds. 152.6 for Tommy and a 149.9 for Hallie. That's where that 3 seconds is gone. It was 5 seconds a moment ago. It is now in between 2 and 3 seconds. Hallie, you have to say, if he can pull out another couple sub 1 minute 50s, he may very well be on to catch Tommy within a lap or two here. And on the other hand, Tommy, he will be wanting to put the foot down as well. Try and maintain that lead. Yes, it's not necessarily for position at the moment. Halley is already a lap up on Tommy. But he won't want to fall behind. Want to hold him out for as long as he can. High quality of racing, it must be said, all round. The Shakedown Champions League has lived up to its name. Legends League, I should say. Champions. The king of football. And here we go. As I said, would not take long. Now have a battle on our hands between Halley and Tommy. Both took a little bit of the sausage curb. And Tommy holding onto that inside line. Bumper to bumper racing here, though. This is brilliant from these two. Can't believe there wasn't contact there. Halley goes out a bit wide. Look to try and get the better exit. They both look like they've got a lot of straight line speed. Who will come off? Bit of weaving down the straight there from Tommy, but all okay. Nothing under braking. See, Tommy gets the inside line here, and Halley pushes around the outside. He's right on his tail here. This will be difficult. Tommy will be aware of the fact that he's in his mirror. Oh, and there's a bit of contact there. Halley shunts Tommy out of the way. That being said, Tommy did have a little snap of oversteer through turn 2 there. Would have upset his car a little bit in the line that he was having to drive with. Sausage sizzle out there, says Bushrat. Indeed it was. Got a little bit feisty. It's like your dad and your uncle fighting over who's going to use the tongs at the barbecue. Just pushing and using the elbows. Just a little bit. All's fair in love and war. No particularly bad consequences either way. You'd have to say it was just a racing incident. Tommy lost control of the car just a little bit, and Halley stuck it up the inside. There was just a little bit of contact. It wasn't. Both cars remained on the road at all times. It wasn't anything particularly terrible. That being said, the stewards... Nah, who am I kidding? The stewards won't have anything to say about that. Pure racing incident. Gee, was that fun though. Look forward to some more battles like that as Halley continues to storm up the field. Will be interesting. I'm sure there'll be a few more fights like that. And just looking at the timings here, Tilly and Gilso. Only about a 1.4, 1.3 second gap between them. And there we go, Bushrat finally making his call. Says Halley for the win. It's driving great so far, he has. And Tilly gets that one done fairly easily on the BMW. Gilso still holds position 1. Hasn't been taken out of it yet. First quarter of this race, he is still up in front. That, I think, though, be close to putting, I reckon, Pickle and Tilly are now on the same lap as Gilso with that overtake. Tilly will have just unlapped himself. I think they will be up with him. Next time they come around for Gilso, they've taken away some of the advantage that he had. But another lap to grab a hold of. Been a good solid race here from Tilly. Best lap of a 152.1 so far. The last was a 153.4. We'll see what he does here. Should be on for about a 153 again. Yeah, 153.027. Consistent driving. That's what these drivers want to do now. Had a bit of action in that first half an hour, but still a long way to go. Just ticked over quarter race distance. Plenty of time still left into this one. So we see Tilly approach turn 5. Tightish left-hander. Tricky part of the track here through 6, 7 and 8. 6 is barely a turn at all. 7 and 8 here. Fast left into a right where you're accelerating. Got the gas down pretty well the whole way. Can be a little bit tricky. If you upset the car through turn 7, it can be hard to get back on the line for turn 8. You can find that oversteer comes in pretty quick. We've got Bushrat saying that Tilly and Pickle should take Gilso midway through the race. Maybe a little early. I reckon that's a pretty fair call. Let's see. What have we got? I've got Tilly doing 153s. Let's have a look at what Pickle's doing. About the same, 152, 153s. They both will be fairly consistently in that sort of bracket. Alright, so once we get around to Gilso, it's forced into the 207, 29 is his last. 207 is his best. If he can push it up and maintain somewhere in the 208s, being good. Obviously, we're talking almost a 20-second gap in lap times there. Those two could be in striking distance within 6 or so laps. 6 to 7 laps potentially. Puts us another maybe 15 to 20 minutes away conservatively. Interesting though. I wonder whether Gilso maybe has a little bit of damage as well. Did have an incident there with the wall at turn 8. I was saying just a second ago, it is a tricky one to get through. That wall on the exit of turn 8 comes up very quickly, and if you've compromised your line a bit through 7, get on the gas just a little bit too early, rear of the car really can slide out from underneath you. Be quite hard to sort of grab a hold of. The BMW is quite good, quite reactive through the mid corner. You can make those adjustments fairly good. That being said, still not easy. So we've got Gilso here, a couple tenths down on his best, but this is the section here that I've been talking about, the 7 into 8, slowing down into 7, third gear. As you get onto it there, if you just don't quite get it, you can lose it out of turn 8 there. You saw up there, the wall on that left-hand side. It's very close. Mandatory pit stops today, Bushrat. Yes, we have 3 mandatory pit stops. Tyres must be changed at least once during the race. Those are our rules. So the guys will need to think about a pit stop at some time over the next little while. If you were to split the race up, 3 stops, it's hard to say what they'll do. 3 stops would suggest you could go quarter distance each time, 4 separate runs. And here we go, actually. Gilso. It's like you could hear me talking about it. Has pulled into the pits. Be the first of these cars to go in. Can't quite see here on my display anywhere what his fuel levels are like, but he is pulling into the pits. Might see whether he gets some of that damage taken care of as well. Pickle in P2. Potentially try and get as much benefit as he can out of this potential overcut. Is a fair way down. No, he has taken it. That's Pickle into the lead. Gilso stops to pit and loses track position. I have to say it was probably always coming. Pickle wasn't that far behind. He was going to get the job done at some stage. Didn't think he'd get the move done through the pits though. Thought we might have seen some racing on track to have that one change hands. That's right, Gilso going for the long haul. Obviously, Pickle will need to pit. Still. think that they'd all be coming fairly close to the end of their runs here for their first stint. I reckon by about the 1 hour 20 mark to go, in 4 minutes time, we will certainly have seen 1 or 2 more cars come in here. I can't see them all wanting to go really long in the first stint, then having to do 2 stops inside of the last 45 minutes or so. Possibly want to try and get the majority of their stops out of the way reasonably early. Obviously, the first run is always a little bit longer, heavier fuel. I imagine most of these cars would have started with full tanks and just be topping up as to what they need. Pickle has a little moment there mid-corner. On the exit, found it a little bit hard. And it looks like Tommy has entered pit lane as well, going slow down the main straight. I believe that's an indication, actually, that Tilly may have already completed a pit stop. There's a moment there we thought he was going very slow up the top of that track map there. Believed he may have had a disconnect issue, but we never saw him leave the lobby, so I reckon he probably has already completed one of his 3 mandatory stops. Meaning that at this stage, it is just Hallie who is yet to pit. Oh, sorry, no, Hallie and also Pickle, who we are following along with now, of course. If you are new in the stream, say hello. Love to hear your thoughts on the running so far today. Just how we have gone. If you're a fan of England, Brooke has just brought up his 50 in the cricket. 50 off of just 65 balls. Bazball well and truly in effect. What's the racing equivalent of Bazball, do you think? Hammer time? Lewis Hamilton when he puts his foot down in the F1? Hit me with your ideas in the stream. What are some other sports that have a similar game style to Bazball? English cricket team deploying at the moment. Tell me what you've got. The idea that they go fast and hard with little to no care in the world. Imagine Hallie would have to be getting close to a lower fuel load. So we might jump on with him. And when I say jump on with him, we're going to jump on board and watch a few laps from the driver's seat of the championship leader for the Legends Racing Series, Not Fast Hallie. Go around for a few laps, seeing what he sees whilst he's out there. Close to low fuel, I have to say, which is why I've chosen to jump on with him now. Maybe some of the quicker running that we might get to see. Oh no. In fact, that's not correct. His last lap being a 2:54 means he's definitely done a pit stop there, so he will have filled up. Must have just missed that on the mini-map. Nonetheless, as he comes down the back straight into turn 10, an awkward little left-hander, not too bad, just a hard spot to jump back down on the throttle again out of that corner. Again, these cars can be pretty torquey, and you can lose your rears a little bit if you do jump onto it just too quick. As Bush says, what have you It's pretty good. Graphics in this game are pretty spot on, you'll have to say. It does look good. What do we got? We've got a 1:48.552. It's quicker than I can drive around here, that's for sure. See what he's got here in the second lap of this stint. Bear in mind his personal best so far this race is a 1:48.187. Swings it around nice and wide on turn 3 as he comes into turn 4 here. Tricky one, stick to the curb as much as possible on the right hand side. Let it slide out wide to the left. And in here to turn 5. Tight left-hander. Again, stick on the curb as much as possible. Hit that exit well. Get on the throttle nice and early. Pretty good down there. That was 6. Just a little kink in the road. It's barely a corner. Into 7. Switch back for 8, which is the right-hander. Come up to the top of the hill here. Now long right-hander around turn 9. It's almost a 90-degree corner, although a very smooth one at that. Come down the back straight, down the hill, braking down to second gear into turn 10. Come back around for turn 11, keeps going to the left. Turn 12, big long right-hander again. Full 180 from where you are at turn 11. Facing the opposite direction now. And we'll go into 13. 14 and 15 is the chicane. 14's the left-hander. Brake pretty hard into that. On the throttle into 15 a little bit. Sort of feathered it there and then jumped off. Picks it back up here. Full throttle all the way into 16. There's no lift off there at all anymore. He is flat out through 16. Main straight. And we went across the line with a 1:49.165. Coming back around into turn 1 and 2. Turn 3, in third gear as well. Gets into 4th on the exit. And Australia have another wicket. Harry Brooks skies one. Pat Cummins catches him 3/4 of the way back towards cover. I think it was off the bowling of Mitchell Stark. Stark's got you 2 wickets this morning for Australia. And Halley is ripping through another lap once again. Only a couple of tenths down on that fastest time, which is in the 1:48s if you can believe. Up to turn 9. Around turn 9 and back down the hill. Back straight. There's also a downhill on a decline. And we're going to be catching Pickle soon here as well. Only 9 and a bit seconds up the road. You would have to say that Halley's probably got this in him over the next 2 to 3 laps. We will definitely see some action there. Wonder how long Pickle can hold him up for. Pickle a lap ahead, of course. Where Halley was. Halley started 3 laps down. 2 or 3 laps time actually. Pickle seems to have been held up a little bit by Gilso through that chicane there, through some of those corners. Obviously Gilso in the slower car. 156 from Pickle, wasn't ideal. Halley is gaining on them both here. We're going to have some action in just a second. See where he might be able to get this done. Turn 3 is probably a little bit of a stretch, which is what we're hitting now. But I reckon into turn 4, we could well and truly see a move up the inside, or exit at turn 3 maybe. Just that extra power that the Lamborghini has there. Nothing Gilso could do about that, unfortunately. That's just all down to the car. Probably got something to say with driver skill a bit as well, but the car did a lot of the work there. Here we are, we're only 3 snap of oversteer. It's able to correct it. It's alright. Halley is now hunting down Pickle. 2.9 ahead as we stand. Another 149 quietly there. Quite hit that 148s again, although his fuel probably is up on when he managed to set that time. probably towards the end of the first stint somewhere. And here we go, into turn 10. And 11. 12 is the right-hander that comes back this way. I reckon he's going to get very close to the chicane. Wonder whether he'll get the better exit out down to the main straight. He might be able to get the move done there. See what he can do on the braking here into the chicane, which is 14 and then 15. Got a little bit of that sausage curve there on the exit of 15. Just sort of upset the car a little bit. Did wobble around. Certainly will impact his top straight line speed here. Still going to push 270 before he has to brake. Just tipped 270. So confident of the braking though. He's made up a lot of time there. You can just see Pickle had to brake that touch earlier. Now he'll start to get the benefits of that slipstream behind Pickle. Where will he get it done? Pushing up nice and close. He's going to go down the inside of turn 4. Smart move. He's getting the blue flags there because he is the lap behind, but don't think that Pickle will be able to take that back. I'm going to switch to a broadcast view just to see how close Pickle is behind. He is close, but I don't think he's going to be able to take that spot back. He's given that up. He will just settle back into his own race. Did a good job defending there for some of it. He obviously didn't cause an incident, which is rule number 1. Number 2 in regards to the fact that he stuck to his line. Didn't try to cut it back. He could have tried to potentially close the door, but realised that Halley was there and let him through. It's good racing by those two though. Halley did officially pick up the spot there, and Tilly did also on Gilsoy. Tilly, Halley, and Pickle have all picked up the spot on Gilsoy. Only Tommy now behind. And there's only about a 20-second gap between those two. So that 2-lap advantage that Gilsoy had have been pretty much erased by half race distance by all 4 of our other runners here. Obviously would have been interesting to see how Gilsoy would go against another car in the same class as him. If we had another BMW on track, certainly might be a different story. He's had far from a poor lap, Gilsoy. Poor race, Gilsoy. He's had a little bit of an incident. Yeah, did have a little bit of an incident in lap 3, which would have caused some damage to the front of his car. BMW is not a particularly aero-dependent car. It's much more muscly and torquey than the Ferrari or the Lamborghini. If you damage the front bumper on any of these, it will, either the Lamborghini or the Ferrari, it will definitely have a noticeable difference in your lap times. Maybe not quite as big a difference on the BMW, but it will have impacted him somewhat still. He was in the pits a little bit longer than the other 4 through their first stops, assumingly just getting some of that damage corrected. Bent back up into shape. Might switch here and jump on board with Tilly, running in P4 at the moment. .17 seconds behind our race leader Pickle, although a lap down at the moment. Track position, he will be in no position to get Gilsoy. Only 30-second gap there. Tilly obviously in the far faster car. He will be just pacing himself at the moment, though, you'd have to say. He will, of course, he'd like to get that move done at some stage, but just make sure that he's putting in these consistent laps here. Obviously, this is an enduro race today. Guys won't be pushing too hard too quick. Just sort of be settling into a bit of a rhythm here. As we can see Tilly doing. Only about a second off his fastest lap. This is his out lap after what must have been a lengthy pit stop. Almost clocking in towards the 6-minute mark. So I think we've just missed some action. Pickle getting a move done on Gilso. It looks like Gilso is flying back into the pits. That's where the move would have been done. Gilso hit pit entry. And Tilly's about to grab that spot as well. We'll pass him in the pits. And back up into P3 once that does register. Unless he's another lap down, but I thought they were on the same lap. Just wait for confirmation of that. Might not be. Might have been an extra lap down, in which case he will just be fighting for it here. Tommy had a few disconnects. Well, had the one disconnect this race. He's had a few over the last couple of weeks. It's been a difficult little run for him, but he's still not completely out of this yet. He should get the BMW. Unfortunately, as much as we'd like for Gilso to have a good finish here, he is in a different class to these other cars. It'd be some miracle if he manages to stay ahead of at least one of them. And I think all four will like their chances of passing him. And Tommy should get that one back. It'll be a question now as to whether Tommy's got the pace to get one of these guys here in Gilso or in Tilly or Pickle. Halley seems to be on a charge for first. And he could get that position before we hit half race distance yet. He's not that far down on where Tilly is now. Closing up in him, only about 6 seconds behind. He's only a further 17 seconds ahead to Pickle. He's averaging 2 to 3 seconds faster a lap at the moment. Pickle there doing a 152. We'll see what happens when Tilly and Halley come across here. We'll get an indication of just how hard Halley's been going. Wouldn't surprise me if he had pulled off just a touch, but Tilly a 152.2 as well. So he and Pickle both lapping at almost identical speeds. That gap of about 17 has maintained itself, and I missed it. Halley's time would have come up, but I didn't see it. Let's see if we can flip through. What did he do? It was a 149.8 on his last. So we are definitely about 2.5 seconds a lap quicker Halley is than these two. Meaning he should have Tilly in the next lap or two. And Pickle will probably be another 6 to 7 laps beyond that, at their current pace, of course. A pit stop would change that. An incident would change that. A 145 from Halley would change that. I think a 145 is unlikely, but if anyone can do it, Halley has been very quick today. I wouldn't put it past him. 3.4 seconds now the gap between Halley and Tilly, and Tommy 153. He's just maybe struggling, maybe down on a little bit of confidence after being disconnected yet again, second time this week. Having issues with the net at the Smooth Tommy household. Seems to be going okay now, but must be frustrating. Halley, 2 seconds down now. This is going to be something we're going to want to chase on board with. Might ride in the chase cam. See just how close he can get to Tilly here. 153. Tilly slower than what he has been doing. Tilly's been averaging in the 152s. Halley does another 149.6. Been consistently around that, the mid 149s, which is what's giving him this advantage, which is just a 1 second gap now. Will he do it again at turn 4, do you think? Nah, he's going to do it at turn 3. Tilly goes so wide there. I don't know whether that was intentional to let him through. Was for position. No, it wasn't. It wasn't for position. Tilly would have been blue flagged out there. That's what it would have been. That's why he made it so easy. Halley now. 16 and a half. 16 seconds off Pickle for the lead of this race. Approaching half race distance. It's been a long one already, but we are still going. If you are somehow just joining us for the first time tonight, welcome on board. This is the Shakedown Racing League. This is Barcelona in Spain. He's part of our Enduro Cup, the last of the 4 cups within the Legends series. Enduro Cup. Currently first place held by Smooth Tommy, running in solid last in this race. Had some disconnect issues early. Was able to rejoin the race safely, which is good. But we'll be fighting for positions. Every point will be vital here. Not sure exactly what the lead is from him to second place this particular Enduro Tour. But he will be hoping to get as many points as he can. Ensure that he holds on to that first place. Halley here, you think he will be getting points for fastest lap. I don't see anyone else beating a 1:48.1. Unless we get on some fresher tyres with a low fuel load right towards the end of the race. That being said, he's 2 tenths up on this lap, although he is encountering a slow car. He's going to park himself on the apex there of turn 7. And almost again on turn 8. Forced him wide, did Gilso there. And Halley will get the move done around the outside of turn 9. Going down the hill towards left-hander, which is turn 10. Get on the brakes nice and late. On the throttle nice and early. Slow in, fast out. Looked really good there from Halley. Looks like Tilly is just behind Halley here. Must have just got Gilso. There's a few cars all up in a line. If you look at the track map just there to the left of screen, all 3 of them are quite close. Let's see if we can swap down to third place, which is Tilly. It's Gilso, in fact, that we probably want if we want the third place of that bunch. But he's going to lose time pretty quickly being in the BMW. They have just blitzed him. Flick back to Tilly here. Just behind Halley. Doing a good job to keep as close as he has so far. These 2 are first and second on the same lap. Oh, second and third, I should say, on the same lap. Tilly goes a bit wide there on the exit of turn 4. And that is officially half race distance here for the Shakedown Racing League at Barcelona. I'll run through it again for you. We've had 4 separate tours that have made up this Legends series. First 5 rounds was the British Tour. All drivers in the BMW for that series. Or the mini-series, I should say, the Tour. use the correct terminology. The next 4 rounds were the Americas Tour, where all cars drove the Lamborghini, as shown by Pickle and Halley out on track today. The next tour was in Italy, the Italian Tour, for rounds 10 to 12. All cars in the Ferrari. As we're riding on board here with Tilly and also Tommy down in P5 are driving at the moment today. And this last section is the Enduro Tour, rounds 13 to 16, where we have had each team can only have 1 car from each of the 3 that we drove through the first 3 tours. The idea being that in teams of 3, we should have 1 of each of the cars on track for each team. Harrison not available for Team Shakedown. That's why we only have 1 BMW out there of Gilso. Tilly in a bit of a race of his own at the moment. He's fallen a few seconds behind Halley, but is about a 20-second gap up on Gilso. Kind of just out in the middle of the track by himself there. Continue to put a gap on Gilso without too much of an issue. However, it's Halley he'll want to try and stick with. It's a good marker, a good indicator of just how quick he's going. Be that gap to the car in front. Halley, of course, has been the fastest car on track today. He's been looking very competent indeed around here. Be interested to ask Halley what his favourite track is. Don't know whether Barcelona would rate up there for him. We'll see. I should jump on board with Halley once more because he is bringing it right down now, right up to Pickle. This will be for position. He was 3 seconds a lap quicker on that last lap. It looks like Tommy has had to pull into the pits again. This could be Tommy's 3rd pit stop of the race yet. Potentially unlikely. It may only be the 2nd. 3 mandatory stops today in the 2-hour race. 1 mandatory change of tyres, although they do have 4 sets available for the race. I imagine most cars will be getting the full do-over, refueling, plus a change of tyres each time they come in. Of course, the newer and fresher the tyres are, better grip and traction you get on track. Halley then about 1.5 seconds behind Pickle here. This has been coming for a long time. Halley started 3 laps down on the race lead, and a lap down on Pickle. The part of trying to make this race a little more interesting because he has been dominant this series. Very quick behind the wheel. Number of race wins. A little bit of some lagging around the place there. Doesn't look to have impacted the driving on track too much. Here he comes though. Almost bumper to bumper here. This is for position. This is for the lead of the race into the chicane. It'll be a tricky one. He tries to go around the outside. Will he manage to get the switch back? Oh, there's contact there. Definitely contact. Halley slows down. Lets Pickle go through. That was on Halley, you have to say, which is potentially why he's giving Pickle that position. Pickle seems to be having some issues. He is lagging all over the place. Not really sure quite where he is. He is in front. This is going to be the interesting stuff. Pickle has been your race leader for the last little while. Halley is pushing for it. Still half a second gap between them. Halley's made a few moves work here at turn 4. Too far off the back for Pickle there to make that one work. Turn 5, probably not the spot to do an overtake. They'll just fall into queue there. Although, Oh, gee whiz. Pickle is flying everywhere on my screen. I'm sure you can see that. Don't know how it would be for the driver on board. I don't know whether Pickle has disconnected or whether he's just completely binned it. But we do currently have him floating above some of the tyre bollard at the entry of turn 7, and he has disconnected. He was jumping all over the place for a little while there. Not sure whether he had an accident due to the lag or whether he just binned it. And because of the accident, disconnected. It's hard to say. Back on board with Tilly. It was some good racing though. Halley, you have to say, up in the chicane of 14.15, there was contact between the two of them at turn 15 on that last lap, for which Halley was at fault for. Was not space for him to go there. And after the contact, he did back out, and he did let Pickle there retake the lead. Waited for him to rejoin the track before following suit behind. Some good racing though. It was close for a few laps. So Tommy in the 152s. Just not quite been on the pace much as he might have liked today. He does have the capacity to be a lot quicker than that. He's driven a good race. He's been, obviously, besides the obvious, which is the disconnect, he has been consistent. It's 6:14 p.m. local time. Might see the lights start to fade over the next 15 minutes or so. I think sunset is probably not until closer to 7 o'clock local time here. It shouldn't be too bad. It's been pretty cloudy all running so far though today. So the guys will be used to that. I don't think we will ever get to complete darkness. We still do have 51 minutes of race running to go. If you're in the chat and you want to say hello, please do so. Let me know what you got up to today, how you've been going. And Pickle, it looks like, has been able to rejoin the lobby, which is good. Disconnects are unfortunate. There's a bit of a unique little quirk or obstacle to overcome in the online gaming scene, not just with sim racing, but all sorts of competitive online gaming. Disconnects can be common. Not something you see in real life racing. Just a little interesting quirk that we have here that you don't see elsewhere. For those of you watching along at home as well, Australia have their third wicket of the morning over in England. Josh Hazlewood gets the wicket that is Johnny Bairstow. It's caught at mid-on by Pat Cummins for 16. I am bringing you regular updates from the cricket as well. Might only be me that's interested, but that's alright. Just have one eye on it from time to time on my second screen here. Most important though is the race here. Might jump on board with Tommy for a little while. He is still in 5th position. Pickle, despite the disconnect, was able to come back out in 2nd place. Though that gap between himself and Tilly will not be quite as large as it was prior to the disconnect. Car of Tommy's is looking good on track. Purple rims, 343. Suspect potentially a little bit of a Halo enthusiast when he was younger, perhaps, with the choice of number there. Of course, 343 being the developers for the Halo series. We are playing on Xbox, so it is reasonable for me to mention that. Chat has been quiet for a little while. If you have any questions or anything like that you'd like to entertain me with, do so. Let me know what else you're doing tonight. If you've got something on your second screen that you're also paying attention to, or what else is happening around the place? What's your choice of multitasking whilst watching one of our Shakedown sim races? Tell me, just the best lap of a 151.552 so far today. It was in the 150 flats. I think it was a 150.2 in practice earlier today. Didn't set a valid lap in qualifying. Only a 15-minute session. He also was having a bit of fun and just drifting around the track though. Wouldn't like to drive on that pair of tyres that he was using through qualifying. Leaderboard call out for Bushrat to take a shower pit stop. That's all right. Glad to have you back nonetheless. We have Hallie in P1. Got the move done over Pickle. Pickle disconnected during a bit of hard racing between the two of them, which resulted in Hallie taking that coveted race leader position. Tilly is in P2 after Pickle has rejoined. Back into P3. We have Gilso running in the BMW, different class of car today, is still holding P4 over Tommy in P5. Tommy is recently out of a pit. He, I think, is the most recent of... No, I think Hallie is the most recent of our pit stoppers. Tommy will be looking to go long in this stint if he can. That carrot in front of him of the position he can gain by overtaking Gilso will be dangling. He will be keen to try and get that move done if he can. Every time he's gotten close, one of the two of them has needed to pit. It sort of throws it all out a little bit. Has been in P5 for most of this race, Tommy, after a disconnect on about lap 6. Of course, it has been a long one today. An hour and 15 minutes already into this 2-hour long race. And I'll agree with you, Bushrat, it was bad luck for Pickle. It's a bit of an incident between the two. There was some contact out of turn 15 at the chicane. Hallie sent it up the inside and shunted Pickle off the track. Some good racemanship though. He slowed down and waited for Pickle to rejoin the track before retaking position 2. Obviously didn't want to overtake after having bunted the car in front off the road. And it was about half a lap later, up through turn 5 and 6, where Pickle disconnected. All down the main straight, he was jumping up and down and in and out. And Pickle has just hit the pits and fallen back to P5. So Tommy gets his first overtake done for the day. All through it under the pits. But he does move up into P4. P3 will be beckoning. Only 22 seconds up the road, although going wide like that will not help. Bushrat, I reckon I'll be doing much the same, straight into free practice for the an F1 race after this. I certainly will be having that switched on. Whether or not I watch live, I haven't yet decided, but I will definitely be switching it on to have a look. And of course, we get to wake up tomorrow to watch qualifying. Trying a slightly different race weekend schedule this week, being another sprint race. I have to get used to that this year. They've changed it up. We'll go free practice into qualifying on the Friday. Before we have on Saturday, we have the sprint shootout into the sprint. So qualifying for the sprint versus the race is now separate in the F1 calendar. Qualifying tonight will mean we'll set the positions for the race on Sunday. And obviously the shootout will set the positions for the sprint, all of which will happen Saturday night here, Australia, New Zealand time. One great thing about my Saturday mornings, I love my Friday evenings watching free practice, and then my Saturday mornings getting up to watch either free practice 2 or sometimes Sunday mornings as well, getting up and lying in bed and watching qualifying. It's good fun. Will Verstappen dominate again this weekend, Bushra? I find it hard to see him doing poorly at his home circuit. Red Bull have been very comfortably head, shoulders and waist above the rest. I think it's a track Mercedes have normally done well at. It's a short track, which helps with their tyre warm-up and cool-down. I think they will look to be strong. They have been strong the last couple of races. Aston Martin this year have been good also. I seem to, every time I write Ferrari off, they pull out a weekend that they go quite well. So I'd be silly to do that as well for them. I'm sure Leclerc and Sainz will both be fairly hungry. They haven't enjoyed the success they would have liked to so far this year. Alonso, been a model of consistency behind Verstappen and Perez. And some talk in the media midweek about how long it will take Stroll to get up to pace. Obviously driving the same car as Alonso, but doesn't have those results just yet. Much younger driver, doesn't have half the experience that Alonso does yet. Bushrat reckons Aston Martin might get up for a win. And I think all my money would have to be on Verstappen at his home race, but I do think Aston Martin should be strong, so I'll agree with you there. Back to where we're racing tonight, though, in Barcelona. We're still on board with Tommy, who did, whilst we were talking about the F1 there, get that move done on Gilso. He's now up into P3. Got Halley in P1. Just doing a 150.8 very casually. That'll be one of his slower laps for the session so far. He's been pretty consistently up in the 149s, followed by Tilly in P2. Got Tommy, who we're on board with now, in P3. Gilso in the BMW, P4. And it is Pickle in P5. Pickle led the race from about the half an hour mark when he was able to take back P1 from Gilso, who started with a 2-lap advantage due to the card class discrepancy. But now finds himself in P5. Unfortunate disconnect. It is not ideal. Bushrat, imagine a Vettel Alonso combo in the Aston Martin. That would be something. Don't think it would have ever happened whilst Vettel was racing, unfortunately. Stroll, being the son of the team's owner, does make things complicated. He's probably gotten slightly more of a go than he might have if it wasn't for that otherwise. especially with his first few seasons being particularly poor. Of course, Aston Martin weren't particularly competitive through his first few seasons, but they have shown significant improvement this year. That is for certain. It's been a good season to watch. The first couple of races when we thought Red Bull would run away with it. I think the championship is probably not as competitive as it has been in previous years. Although that being said, we've just come out of an 8-year Mercedes reign of terror, where nobody could get close to them for almost that entire period. Yes, the championship probably is Red Bull's to lose. In fact, and I don't think they will lose it. But I also tend to think that it has still been entertaining nonetheless. The battle for second is well and truly on. Mercedes up there, Aston Martin. Ferrari will have a few shots to land for sure before the end of the season. That 2 through 4 battle has been shaping up nicely. And even just beyond that, McLarens have been good in recent weeks. The Alpines have looked to have improved significantly from the start of the year. There's a few good battles right down the track. Tauri and Williams do seem to be struggling a little bit more. The Haas are kind of sitting in the middle of no man's land as well. Not really getting those points that they might like. It's been a good season though, I think. 154 flat for Tommy. Slowing down, just getting into that groove. He's got a best of a 151.5 so far at this race. We've just ticked over the 1 hour 20 minute mark. Lactic acid stiffness, the drivers will be feeling that now. They've had a few little pit stops here and there. 30 seconds maybe, where you might be able to quickly stand up out of your chair before having to sit back down into the cockpit of your sim race. A little bit more of the curb than he would have liked there, Tommy. Upsets the car just a bit. .213 for Gilso. And the 155 for Tilly. It's definitely slowing down as Gilso. He's consistently up in the 07, 08s for a little while. He's got a 206.159 as his fastest time. Looks like he's managed to fix up the front end of that car. He picked up some damage in about the fourth or fifth lap of the race, I think it was. Had a bit of an issue out of turn 7 into turn 8. Found that the wall at turn 8 crept up on him very quickly indeed. He's coming around towards that section of the track again. You might ride on board with him for a little while. Different class of car here is the BMW over the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis. Far from a bad car to drive though. Wrecked very well mid-corner to any adjustments that you might make. And once again, I'll give you an update from the cricket where Travis Head has taken his first wicket for the innings. Ollie Robinson came down the pitch, tried to slog him out of the park. Thick edge to Carey behind the stumps. Carey probably could have stumped him as well should he have wanted to, just to make sure of it. But there was no need. Here we go, Gilso getting the blue flags to move over and out of the way of Tilly. See if these two can negotiate this well enough. Tilly doesn't need to get the move done as such. Gilso can't hold him up for too long. It's understandable through that particular section. But the speed difference down the straight here will make this a formality. He doesn't even need to wait till the straight. Does Tilly. Slides through on the exit of turn 16. 209 for Gilso. It's a little bit more what we were accustomed to seeing. 213 might have been a bit of an out of the blue. We saw the lap before. metallic purple livery there on the BMW, rocking the number 35. Sports figures to wear the number 35, Kevin Durant. Of course, currently playing with the Phoenix Suns in the NBA. I say 35, I think he's actually wearing the number 7 these days. He obviously used to represent the 35 back in Oklahoma City and also in Golden State. I think when he moved to the Nets, he swapped numbers to number 7. Trying to think of anyone else that I can imagine that wears the number 35. A professional sporting environment. And one is not coming to mind. If you think of something, let me know in the stream. What other numbers do we have here? 80, obviously a number of the numbers we're running here are quite high. In other sports you often don't see numbers. You certainly don't see too many triple digit numbers in alternate sports. 24 from Hallie, Kobe in the NBA. Might jump on board with Hallie here, and because we're feeling a bit frisky, we might go for an onboard view. Just follow on for a few laps with him. See how he is finding the car. Almost at 3/4 race distance now. Not too much longer to go. That being said, half an hour is still a reasonable drive. We'll see where we can get to. Oh, loses a lot there. Where are we? Was out of turn 12. Really struggled to hold on to that. Might just be driver error. Going to say that his tyres have gone off just yet. He seems to be fighting with the car just a little bit. I suppose we shall see if he does come in for a bit at some stage. Remain straight. And Travis Head. He takes another wicket. 2 wickets inside of the over. And it's Josh Tongue, trapped leg before wicket. Australia just needing 1 wicket to wrap up this English tale. Stuart Broad, excuse me. Tongue is not out at the non-striker's end. Attempting to sweep. Missing everything. Being trapped in front. No Nathan Lyon, no worries for Australia. As we see Hallie. Second or third little struggle with the car over the last lap and a half. Maybe those tyres are starting to wear out just a bit. Maybe just a bit of a lapsing concentration here or there as well. So he has been driving for 90 minutes consecutively. It's been a long one. He's an Enduro for a reason. So it is Hallie, followed by Tilly, 90 seconds behind, though on the same lap. And then, yes, as I suspected, Hallie into the pits. Struggling with those tyres. Come through now. And we'll get a change. We'll ride on board with Pickle in the Lamborghini. Get this on-board view with him. Bright green gloves inside the purple car. We're rocking the black and green. Here's his race driver. inside that cockpit, despite the purple car. Pickle in P4. Picked up that final spot from Big Gilso. BMW has slid to the back of the pack. Pickle was leading this race at the 30-minute mark when he took P1 from Gilso. He started with a 2-lap advantage. Led the race all the way through until about the 45-minute mark, I think. Maybe around the 50-minute mark to go. And he lost P1. Was in a battle with Halley for race lead. And in the middle of that, there was a disconnect, which resulted in him needing to rejoin the lobby. Came in. A bit down on our race lead. And Australia have done it. Wrapped up England's tail very promptly. England all out for 325. Trailing Australia by 91 runs. In the second test at Lords. This is day 3. Following along with any of that there. Short pitch bowling works for Pat Cummins. Travis Head looking bowling from the other end. Comes in and takes a very easy catch under the helmet at short leg. On board, still here with Pickle. Has had a couple of good laps this session. 152.5 is his best. Has been consistently around that 153, 154 mark for majority of the running, which has been certainly competitive enough. A few little mistakes here and there, but I would say overall he would be fairly happy with his race. Obviously the disconnect was not his fault by any means. Can't beat him up too much about that. The reality is, Halley has looked so quick today, you thought he was going to get the move done regardless. Through turn 3 here. Very long right-hander. But awkwardly slow through a lot of the apex of that one. Doesn't really quite ever allow you to shift up through the gears as quickly as you might like to. Shifts up there to 3rd, up to 4th. You're going to have to go back down to at least 2nd here. Very wide through that actually, through turn 5. But we'll get on to the right through turn 6. Barely a turn. Into turn 7 and 8. Tight left-hander, 2nd gear just to stop the wheel spin. Then up into 3rd, 4th, top of the hill. Right-hander. To turn 9 and down the hill we'll go. Push up into 5th gear, down this little back straight, right as you're about to shift into 6th. That is when the braking zone hits for turn 10. Turn 10 around to the left, and turn 11 again just pushes you to the left a little bit further for another longer right-hander in turn 12. Sliding around there on the apex, just lost the rear ever so slightly on the exit. Does get it tied up nicely into 13. 14 and 15 is the chicane. As we go through that quite nicely. Maybe just a little bit of the sausage curve on the inside of 15, second of the 2 corners to the chicane. And flat out through 16 down onto the main straight. Quite a nice lap there, 153.2. Not the fastest we've seen, not the slowest we've seen. It's been a good running from Pickle, as I said. Did lead this race for probably bearing on 30 to 40 minutes. Oh, just lost the rears through there. Maybe just a little bit too much on the curb on the inside. Hard to say though, without sort of feeling what the steering wheel does under your hands, exactly what it was, but just felt like he maybe got a little bit of oversteer where he wasn't expecting it on the entry into turn 2. Comes down now towards turn 5. Into first gear there. That's a much better line than it was last lap. Had a second down already on that first lap. That little incident at turn 2. He slid around, would not have helped with that. He's looked very comfortable though, I'd say, Pickle. Been impressed. It's been a good, smart drive. Push the limits too much, I say, as he does go a bit wide and some a bit of sand as well. But he's been doing well so far today. And gee, does that Lamborghini look good? Metallic purple, pink with the black and the white. So the trim on those wheels. Looks very smart indeed. Rounds through the chicane, 14 and 15. 16 is that quick right-hander. He's flat out all the way through there. Take a little bit of the exit. Across the line for a 155. Just sort of been sitting in between those couple of spots. He had a few incidents on that lap that he wouldn't have been the happiest with, which results in the 55 as opposed to closer to a 53, but he's settled into his groove very nicely, Pickle. Jump on board here with Tilly. He's running in second position. About 30 seconds ahead of our race leader on track, meaning he is almost, what would it end up being? Comes out to about 70 seconds down on the other side. He's also had a very comfortable race. It's been a difficult one, really, to sort of judge where you might be up to. Not a whole heap of particularly close running for any extended periods of the drive. That's what happens in an Enduro. They're all spread out a little bit and the pack is ready to go. But the guys have been good nonetheless. It's been some very good sportsmanship shown. As I think I've mentioned once or twice, there was an incident there for the lead between Halley and Pickle down in the chicane at 14.15. Halley was at fault and he backed off to let Pickle back through and rejoin the track safely, and gave him back that 1 second advantage that he would have gained due to shunting him off the road. As we see Tilly round the outside there of Gilso in the BMW. Been a difficult race for Gilso. It'd be hard mentally knowing that you're not able to keep up with the other 4 drivers that are on track. And that's not necessarily your fault from a skill perspective, but purely because of the car you're driving is in a different class to theirs. Consistently between the 15 to 16 seconds a lap slower than what the 4 other cars are doing out on track. A difference of 208 to 209s as opposed to your 153s. He hasn't caused any incidents though, Gilso. Every time he's been overtaken, he's gotten out of the way well. Let the faster cars through, which is what we like to see. Good clean racing all around. Ticking down now just to the 20-minute mark left to go. As we've been wanting to make sure, there'll be a few out there that still potentially have one mandatory stop to go. And we want to make sure that they do get those in. Disqualifications will come into play if pit stops are missed. I want to make sure they've done all their fuel calculations right. With 20 minutes left to go, if there is anyone that still does need to pit, you have to say it will be a fairly comfortable splash and dash. Just fill up just enough to get to the end of the race. Not needing to be too concerned at all. If you're just joining us, this is the Shakedown Racing League. This is Barcelona in Spain. Drivers around here have been good today. 2-hour endurance race, just under the 20 minutes to go now before we come to the close. And we get the checkered flag, where we will see Halley. He will take the championship for the Legends Series. He had that one tied up before this race. No result today could have changed that. But at this stage, barring disaster, he will quite possibly walk away with the race here today as well. He's driven a very good drive. We're on board with Tilly in P2. He's been doing his best getting around this track. I think Tilly would have to say that he's had a fairly lonely race today. The action was between Halley and Pickle up the top for a long time. And there was some action as well between Tommy and Pickle for that position there. Tilly's just kind of gone about his business, and will come away with a very nice podium position to show for it. Again, barring any disasters between now and the end of the race. Of course, the lactic acid will be building up a little bit in the arms and legs after being seated in that seat for as long as they have been. But we've had some good racing. Shakedown Racing League. Find us on Facebook if you are interested in jumping on board. A couple of other series ongoing at the moment in Assetto Corsa. We have our GT3s and our GT4s. Both racing on Tuesday nights, alternating week on, week off. Coming up next, this Tuesday coming, in just a few days' time, GT4s will be at Monza, Temple of Speed. The week after that, the GT3s will race at the same track. So it'll be round 3 for both of those series. It's not too late to join. You've only missed 2 races. Points gap there is far from exceptional. If you want to jump in, it's not too late. Got reasonable grids on the ground for both of those events. Might just give a little shout out as well to the Australia-New Zealand Combined Racing League, the ASNZ CRL, who are running a league series on Automobilista 2 on PC at the moment, racing on Sunday nights. We have a full grid of 22 drivers in that league. Pro class with 10 drivers and an amateur class with 12. Racing in Porsche GT3s on Automobilista 2. I believe the first race for that isn't until next Sunday, not this Sunday coming, the one after. As Bushrat says, can't wait for the next GT4 round. Yes. Monza should be good. You see up on the right-hand side there, car 343, that would be Tommy, has just received a stop-and-go penalty. 10 seconds for corner cutting. Get 3 warnings for that on this game before the penalty will be applied. Only corner cutting in which you take significant time off of your lap time does it count. If you don't gain time, you'll be warned but not penalised. It's 3 instances where you have shortened your lap time significantly. That will be taken into consideration. Tommy's day was difficult with that early disconnect on about lap 5. It is made even more difficult now with that penalty that he is serving in the pits at the moment. Maybe just pushing a little harder to make sure that it does tie that up. However, that penalty has cost him a spot, as Pickle in 107 has passed him. Interesting. I'm not sure. Tommy has been stationary for some time. I reckon he may have done a full pit stop there and included his stop and go penalty in that pit stop. Of course, the penalty will be served first, 10 seconds where they're not allowed to work on the car, before they will do the remainder of the pit stop. Monza will be interesting for the GT3s, GT4s coming up. Obviously known as the Temple of Speed. It's a very quick track. And GT4s qualifying times in the sub 2 minutes for sure. I was doing some practice the other night and was pushing the 2-minute flats, which is, I am not a fast driver at all. Some of these other guys there, Hallie, Tilly, Tommy, these guys will be pumping out the 57s, 58s, you'd have to think, if not faster. The GT3s around Monza, they should be in the high 140s, I would think, for a lap time for qualifying. 147s, 148s. About that 10 seconds a lap quicker than the GT4s around there. Obviously, Monza, not too many corners, not too many tricky sections of the track. Turn 1 and 2, that chicane is difficult, the braking zone, you've got to get that just right. Don't want to go straight on through there. But in general, there's not too much with that track. There's not a whole heap of room for error, which just means the difference between a good lap and a great lap will probably be not a whole lot, but the small things that you do well will have that impact. Obviously, you exit out of corners into those long straights will impact your top speed significantly the whole way through. We are getting ahead of ourselves a little bit though. That is next week. Right here, we are still in Barcelona. Culmination of 16 weeks of racing here in our Shakedown Racing League Legends series. Round 16 is about to finish. Tommy, still in the pits. Not sure whether he's had an issue there. He pulled in for a stop and go penalty. I reckon it was almost 2 or 3 minutes ago there. I don't know whether he's having some extensive damage fixed maybe at the same time. Whether there is maybe an in-game issue. On our timing screens, it is still displaying that the penalty is there to be served. And Gilso in the pits also. They're completing his final compulsory pit stop. Hallie here in the Lamborghini. Slick looking car, as is Pickles. Which of the two looks better, do you think? Lamborghini looks quite nice. Alternatively, we have another Lamborghini or the Ferrari of Tilly. They both look pretty good. I reckon my heart sits with the Lamborghini in terms of pure aesthetic, but every man has their own choice. Jump back on board with Pickle for a little while in P3. And as I said, did lead this race for upwards of 35 minutes through the middle section after taking the position from Gilso, after unlapping himself and eventually catching up to the 2-lap head start that they did have. He has had a very good race today. As I said, that disconnect would not have been his fault. Can't do anything about that at times. Besides that, he would, if it weren't for that, he would still be in P2. Only lost that position due to the disconnect. He's had a very strong evening tonight. You still see Tommy and Gilso both still in the pits there. Don't know whether there has been an issue there or not. Sort of comes around towards turn 7 and 8 here. And Tommy admitting to the fact he's got a bad case of I've had enough after receiving that stop and go penalty. Decided maybe it wasn't his night. They do have Gilso rejoining the track there, maybe fixing up some potential damage. Didn't see any sort of incident on track, but that might explain the longer than normal pit. And Tommy letting me know that he's been struggling to stay awake for a little bit, actually. Which, yes, would certainly make driving difficult. It's been a long one, so it is understandable. 2-hour-long race. It's definitely an enduro. Definitely a test of mind and strength. 7 minutes to go now. Definitely on the home stretch for these drivers out on track. Halley had a very good race. Started right at the back. Of course, the BMW had a 2-lap head start. Halley gave everyone else, the other 3 cars, a lap, another whole lap on top of himself. And he has been leading this race for about the last 40 minutes now. Been looking comfortable whilst doing so. Exceptional driver. As are most of these guys out here on track. All been very competitive. Each done very well in and of their own right. Tommy's still in the pit. Gilso in the BMW. Number 35. Purple and black livery. Looks very slick. And we'll jump back on board with Halley for the final 5 minutes. 6 minutes of this race and of this series. Been dominant start to finish, it must be said. Not quite Max Verstappen, but he's had a comfortable lead for a lot of the series. As I've said a few times, no result today could have changed anything. And just to put the icing on the cake, he's lapped 2nd position today. Getting that move done on Tilly. Looks like it was around the outside at turn 10. A tight left-hander, but he's got it done. Through the chicane they both go. And out down the penultimate corner. Nice and wide and fast down the main straight.
Pit window is now closed.
And you may have just heard there, the pit window is closed. Hope for all the drivers on track's sake that they have got all of their pit stops, mandatory pit stops in. 3 pit stops tonight. You wouldn't want to be stuck with only 2 and thinking that you might sneak one in on the last lap of the race. No, pit window does close with 5 minutes to go. Hopefully for those that are racing at the moment's sake that there is no issues. Bushrat admitting that he's found my commentary sleep-inducing. Been nodding on and off. If you want me to yell at you, you just need to say so, mate. And I can do my best to try and keep you awake. I must admit, it is an enduro. And it is the end of a long week. End of financial year. A lot going on, I'm sure, in everyone's personal lives as well. What better way to end the week, though, than with a bit of Friday night of racing. It has been very entertaining tonight. There was a chase from Halley, starting 3 laps down on the race lead, 1 lap down on the rest of the pack, and he's done very well. I might be repeating myself a little bit, but there's not too much more to say. It's been very impressive, to be honest. He's done a very good job. Yes, Bushrat. I do forget that you are Bushrat New Zealand, which means you are New Zealand, which means it's not just 9:30 like it is for the rest of us over here in Australia. Or it'll be 10 o'clock on the eastern states almost. It's 9:30 here for me in Adelaide. And of course for you it is getting far closer to midnight, so I do understand the tiredness. It does make sense. To recap the race, we had Gilso in P1 with the 2-lap head start, and we had all 4 other cars chase him down from there. Obviously a bit of a class difference there for sure, but it's been an entertaining race to say the least. A couple of incidents there. Fairly sure Tilly and Pickle collided at one point. Racing incident, but it was a collision nonetheless. We had Hallie and Pickle get into a scrap as well. And I think Hallie had a little bit of a bump with Tilly at one point also, as he got that position. There's a bit of side-to-side contact as they went too wide through turn 4. But it's been a good race. The guys have kept it very clean. And we're going to see Hallie come around here not too much longer. He's going to have this lap and one more to go after this to call an end to the Shakedown Racing League Legends Series. Been a long one, 16 weeks of racing.
Okay, the leader is on the final lap now. Give it all you can.
They've given him the final lap there. Obviously knowing he won't complete one more before the time is up. It's been a small grid tonight. And Hallie pulling out the drifts for the fans. Slinging the rear end around. He doesn't need those tyres anymore. Might jump on board for a bit of this action. See what he's doing with the steering wheel there. The boys have had some fun tonight. Qualifying was not taken particularly seriously, as he rips it up and around into turn 3. Turn 4 I should say. Turn 5 much the same. Those revs going. Drifting it well. He's done this a few times before. He's holding it together very nicely. He hasn't invalidated his lap yet. Able to hold it together. For sure. Very good reactions is what it takes there to keep this pulled together. Tommy will be watching on and thinking, gee, we should be doing some races in Dirt Rally 5. Some fun here from the boys. You also will want to be careful. Hallie is not taking no prisoners on this lap. By far the quickest, but it'll probably be the one he enjoys the most. He's going to come through. He's going to wrap up the championship lead here for the Legend Series. He has invalidated there for sure. He will come through the final corner, and Hallie will take the checkered flag.
The leader has finished the race.
He wins at Barcelona, as there's some shenanigans after the flag with the shunt. Hallie wins at Barcelona. He wins the ANZ CRL. Sorry, not the ANZ CRL. I've forgotten who I'm streaming for here. Don't kill me, Tommy. He wins the Shakedown Racing League Legends Series. Takes out the Drivers' Championship. Carries Team Shakedown to the Teams' Championship as well. And he's won the final race of the season, Enduro at Barcelona, by a comfortable margin. And he's having a bit of a celebration at the end there. Waiting for our final driver to come around. It is Pickle. We'll finish P3. Tilly had an exceptional race himself. Come home in P2. Stayed out of trouble. Jump on board here with Pickle as he comes around, completes his final lap through the chicane for one last time. 56 times he's gone through that already tonight, and we'll do it once more. It's been a good race for him too. Disconnection was not his fault, which cost him that P2. So it's Halley in first place, takes out the championship, takes out the race. Tilly finishing P2 plus 3 laps for him. Pickle on the same lap as Tilly, but 90 seconds down. We fly out to Gilso plus 10 laps and Tommy plus 12 laps. Early retirement due to exhaustion. We won't give him crap for that, we promise. This has been the Shakedown Racing League. This has been the Legends Series. Congrats to our racers. Great laps, as always, by Halley. Tilly jumping into the stream. You wouldn't have even been watching. You should have been focusing on the race, mate. You've done all right yourself, but I do appreciate the compliments nonetheless. We will see what happens here. As I said, for Shakedown, next step is the GT4s at Monza next Tuesday, followed by the GT3s at Monza the week after. And we will go from there. We're going to call it there. I will shut the stream off. Thank you all for joining me. And as always, if you do want to get in contact with Shakedown, if you have watched us for the first time tonight at all, jump on our Facebook page, send us a message. We'd love to have you involved in one of the races. Have a good night and catch you next time.